Hello everyone, this is Gary from Fantastic Fundas, and in this lecture we are going to talk about two things. One is the Gurudwara reform movement and other is the temple entry movement. What had happened that there was a lot of anger in the people because of the Jallianwala Bagh Kand, right? That's number one. There was violence and the people were disturbed at this time. Number two, there was a lot of corruption at this time going on. And this corruption was done by two people. One were the Mahants. These were the Mahants. In Sikhism. They are the hereditary managers who manage the Gurdwaras. And these Mahants actually they belong to what is known as the Udasi Sikhs. Okay, they are called as Udasi Sikhs. And this sect was founded by Shri Chand, who was son of Nanak. Please understand that many Sikhs do not consider Mahants as Sikhs. There's a lot of controversy about it. These Mahants do not keep their hair, they cut the hair. So there's controversy whether they are Sikhs or not. Okay. Anyway, that is the origin of it. Now, after one was corruption in Gurdwaras by the Mahants. Number two, there was corruption by the actually Gurdwaras were controlled by two people. One was Mahants and one was the people appointed in this context by government of India. People by government of India. So this appointment of people they were corrupt, right? And what these corrupt people did, these corrupt people they did two things which really abhorred by the people, and those were: number one, they issued a hukumnama. Hukumnama is like a hukumnama order, religious order, hukumnama. Okay. And Gadrites were renegades. Gadrites were renegades. So this was announced by them. Gadrites were renegades. Number two thing that they happened, they honored General Dyer by giving him a siropa. Siropa is a cloth, generally orange in color, and this is given as a mark of honor, right? It is just like a shawl that is given in Punjab. They give siropas over here. And then what happened that because of all this there was violence and people were disturbed. So people were disturbed, right? So this disturbance of the people and the corruption, this thing, okay, this corruption and this disturbed people, all this led to protest by the people. And one of the protests was in 1920 when Jathas are the volunteers of people. So some Jathas, they compelled the Mahants and all these government appointed managers to hand over the control of Gurudwaras to the local devotees. So control of Gurudwara was handed to local devotees, and in fact this was won, and this symbolic of this victory was the winning over of the Golden Temple. And the number one is Golden Temple and number two is Akal Takht. Akal Takht is the highest temporal seat of religious Sikhs. It is the authority for Sikhs, right, who issues order to Sikhs. And then government did not wanted to antagonize the reformers, and these people government, because there is already a lot of violence and government was finding it difficult to manage. So what government did, they to appease the popular sentiment, they did not oppose this, and they said, okay, fine, if you are controlling it, continue controlling, right? Actually, now I'll tell you the story of these people getting control over the Akal Takht and the Golden Temple. We'll talk about that. So what had happened that in Golden Temple, Akal Takht and many other Gurdwaras actually, right, not just Akal Takht and Golden Temple, there were around 10,000 reformers who met in November 1920. Okay. And the elected committee of 175 was there, which came to be known as Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee. Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee इसका नाम था SGPC. And at the same time there was felt a need for a body which could organize the struggle on systematic basis. So there was to struggle against these Mahants and other people on systematic basis, right? So this is how it was going on. So what happened that the chief organizer of this movement was the Akali Jathas. Jathas, I've already told you. Akalis were the people who were managing this. So Akali Jathas was managed, and many leaders were common to both. Okay, some people belonged to Akali Jathas and some were from SGPC. So there were leaders coming from these two organized institutions, right? So for the first resistance that was offered by these people were at Nankana. Nankana is the place of the birth of Nanak. Okay, Nankana, Nanak. समझ आई? Right? In 1921, such a great place it is. Now, there was a Mahant at that time, his name was Narayan Das, and he wasn't willing to peacefully surrender his control to Akalis, right? He in fact he himself gathered a force of 500 people who had all the weapons also. And Akalis over here, they were peaceful, they were not using violence. You see what happened, these people used violence, and nearly 100 Akalis got killed in this, and large number of people, and the main leader over here was Kartar Singh Chabar. Okay, Kartar Singh Chabar, he under his command people marched towards the gurudwaras, and took control of the temple despite dire warnings, right? And this tragedy aroused the sentiment of entire country. You see what happens, that lot of people killed, and in spite of what the entire country was aroused, and was with the Punjab, the religious movement, and thus in real terms, the what was a religious movement was now a nationalistic movement. And there were people like who supported this movement. Mahatma Gandhi supported this movement big time, and Maulana Shaukat Ali, okay, we remember Masa, so out of the Shaukat Ali supported this, and Lala Lajpat Rai supported this movement. Lala Lajpat Rai. Okay, so we see these three people, the stalwarts of Indian nationalistic movement, they are also supporting the movement. In fact, these three people, Gandhi and Shaukat Ali, Lala Lajpat Rai, they also went to Nankana Sahib, and what they did at Nankana, they went over there to show their solidarity. Okay. And what happened, that government saw these Akalis are getting united, and there was a lot of fear in the government because of this, and nationalist movement is getting stronger because Akali movement is also joined them. So government would, just to appease the movement so that there is peace in the society, government wanted more peace. Okay, so to introduce the peace in the society because of the unity between all this. Okay, there was unity. So government said we wanted peace, and to appease to the government wanted a law to properly give the control of gurudwaras, to take control of gurudwaras out of mahants, right? And they started working on the legislation, and this, and if anyone was extremist or anti-imperialist section of the Akalis, they were killed or beaten to death, or beaten or badly injured by the government in the name of maintaining of law and order. Okay, so there were two ways: government's carrot and stick. Carrot is the act, and the stick is the law and order. In the name of law and order, they would control the people. That is how it was going on, right? So in this background, what happened, that in May 1921, SGPC passed a resolution. Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, it passed a resolution in favor of the non-cooperation movement, that we support the non-cooperation movement. So you see what is happening, national movement is getting merged with the religious movement. Now government tried to take control of Tosh Khana. Okay, let me just write the spelling correctly. Government tried to take the control of Tosh Khana of Golden Temple. Now Akali said, how can you do this? This belong to people, Sikhs, and not the government. So there was a massive protest against this, and SGPC asked the Sikhs to join Hartal when Prince of Wales came to India. So there is another instance of these two movements merging with each other. So Prince of Wales came, so all the Sikhs on the call of the SGPC, they opposed the Prince of Wales when he came to India. We read about this earlier also. And then government arrested many important Sikh leaders over here, and one of them was the Baba Khadak Singh, and number two was the master. He was a school teacher, Master Tara Singh, originally Tara Chand. Anyway, so NCM was at its height, right? NCM movement, non-cooperation movement, and government did not want a conflict on religious issue. So they handed over keys of Tosh Khana. Government did not want it that this should become a religious issue, otherwise there will be a lot of violence. They feared this. So what they did, they gave the key of the Tosh Khana to the Baba Khadak Singh. So what happens after this? This was a great victory for the religious movement, and this was supported by all in India. Okay, and this was based on non-cooperation only. So Baba Khadak Singh, and when this happened, Mahatma Gandhi, who was very much attached to Punjab, he wrote a telegram to Baba that first battle for India's freedom has been won. Congratulations. This is what happened. Okay, see, Mahatma Gandhi was very much attached to, he was really disturbed by issue of Jallianwala Bagh, and then when this happened, he was really elated by it. That is why he sends a telegram to Baba, congratulations, first battle of freedom is won. So you can say that Tosh Khana affair can also be called the first battle of freedom that was won by India, and congratulated, because you see NCM could not yield result, neither those home ruling movement or moderate or extremist way, none of things were working. So this really worked. So that is why he's saying first movement, right? Now, how the movement ended? This Akali movement ended with it ended through a non-violent struggle only. Please remember, this was a non-violent movement. There was no violence, right? and this movement was at where it was held. It was held at Guru Ka Bagh, Guru Ka Bagh, or it is also known as the Key Affair, Keys Affair, Chabiyon ka Mamla, Chabi, okay, Key Affair at a place called Guru Ka Bagh. So we'll talk about this. Actually, now what had happened, that because the Akalis were really strong, getting stronger, and the Sikhs were getting stronger, so government was looking, Punjab bureaucracy, Punjab government of the Britishers, right? They were looking for an opportunity to fight Akalis, to teach Akalis a lesson. That is what British were looking for, right? They were looking for an opportunity to interfere and to recover its lost prestige. So what had happened, NCM had already been withdrawn in 1922, so government was not able to do anything, so they wanted to do something. So what happened, that there is a place called Kokewala. Kokewala is a place, it's around 20 kilometers from Amritsar, and at this place there was a Mahant, there was a Gurudwara was called Guru Ka Bagh. Now in this Gurudwara, the Mahant of the Gurudwara handed over this Gurudwara to SGPC in 1921, right? We know this, how many Gurudwaras, Golden Temple, Akal Takht were taken by the SGPC, or the rather general public, or Sikhs controlled it, right? But this Mahant who gave the control, he kept on saying that he claimed the possession of the attached land. He said, I have given you only the Gurudwara, not the attached land, the land that was also attached to the Gurudwara. What happened, that you know that in Sikhism there is a concept of langar, right, which is community kitchen. Now Gurudwara, what happened, that the Akalis, there was a tree called kikkar, okay. So they cut this kikkar variety of tree, species of tree, for this community kitchen or langar. And then what happened, this person who was a Mahant, he said, this kikkar tree, this is a theft on my land, and he complained to the government. And when he complained on the charge of theft, many people were arrested. Okay, so when people are arrested, rather than people just being arrested, they were also beaten over here. So the whole of the country's focus at this time, you see, India's focus, as I told you earlier also, Nankana Sahib at that place, Gandhi and Shaukat Khan and all those people, they went over there. Okay, so now whole of the place, India's attention was again now at this time at Punjab only, right? And how would the Britishers be fought over there? And what happened, that Congress Working Committee, it appointed a inquiry commission to check into what had happened. And because of this, when inquiry was formed, government realized that they could not do much. So they what do? They release all the people, Sikhs who were released after the Congress intervention at this time. Okay, and that is how it happened, right? And now see what had happened to sum it up, I can tell you that the Gurudwaras were free now. Gurudwaras were free. But you see the larger Gurudwara. What is larger Gurudwara? It is a representative term. I'm not calling it Gurudwara. This is how you see you can call it larger temple or larger mosque. Okay, whatever you want to call it. That is India. That was still under chains. Now this had to be free anyway, right? So in 1923, what happened, that SGPC took the cause of 23. SGPC took cause of Maharaja of Nabha. Nabha is near Patiala. Okay, now actually what had happened, he was removed from his throne by the government forcefully, and this also led to famous, there was a morcha done. Morcha means a forward movement. Okay, there was a morcha at a place called Jaito. Jaito is a place in Punjab, it is near Nabha only, and people gathered here. But this was not much successful movement, okay, and it could not really succeed because there was not much support for this movement, right? But the Gurudwara reform movement was supported by whole of the India. Now what happened, that government had succeeded in winning over the moderate Akalis with the force of legislation. Okay, now the Akalis also had various factions, and there was SGPC Act, and thus people were very happy because after the act was passed, right? And the Punjab Gurudwaras were now to be under a elected body of Sikhs, which also came to known as SGPC, right? After SGPC Act came into being, it was then, what was the impact of Punjab movement? This was in 1925 or 26. I cannot really recall the exact year, right? SGPC Act came in 1925 or 26. I guess probably it was proposed 25, past 26. If any of the Sikhs is following this video, I would just humbly request you to kindly write in the comment section that which year it was, and others can please see this and confirm from there. And then the impact, what was the impact of the Punjab movement? You see, it had a huge impact. For example, Punjab's peasantry was awakened. Punjab awakened. especially peasantry. You see how a religious movement, this is an example, you see earlier there was Khilafat movement, okay, and Khilafat movement really could not contribute to the national movement, but here it was related to Mohammedans, but here it is a Sikh movement, it is again a religious movement. So was Khilafat movement. Nobody talks, everyone says that Gandhi's support to Khilafat movement was communal, but no one says that Gandhi's support to Sikh movement was communal. You see what is happening, that this movement really could not be translated into nationalistic movement for reasons that I've already discussed, but Sikh movement got translated into nationalist movement. Okay, this is, you see, religion itself is not bad, it is the how you use it that becomes good or bad. Okay, so what was the impact of this movement? Number one, Punjab, the peasantry in Punjab was now awakened, and number two was that at this time, you see, we had a model of movement on religious issue which was totally non-communal, right, which was started as a communal movement, which started as a religious movement. See, communal in as a word in itself is not bad, but in context it is bad. Communal means community, that is the origin of the word. So Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, everyone was involved in the Akali movement, as I've taken you the names also. So was the Congress, and thus Punjab was this is how everyone in the Punjab helped coming over this the corruption and the pain of the Jallianwala Bagh. Okay, and you see, Mapilla movement turned rebellion, Khilafat movement turned somewhat communal, right? But here what is really happening, but then Khilafat movement was also not absolutely communal, so it turned somewhat communal only, but this movement was purely nationalistic. And then after this movement, you see the Akalis, they were there, they were got divided into three parts. Okay, number one part was the moderate Akalis, who were the pro-government people now, because what they asked for what, the reforms, and the reforms were there, so they were happy, right? Number two were the nationalists. Now most of the nationalists in Punjab, socialism had a very, very strong base. For example, Bhagat Singh was a great follower of it. Now what had happened, because you see, Bhagat Singh, you cannot say exactly that he was 100% a follower of socialism, because he had impacts of Marxism, major impact of Marxism on him, so all those philosophies, right? So Bhagat Singh philosophy, in a way you can say it was a mixed philosophy of so many things, right? So anyway, so the nationalist movement at this time, it became part of the Gandhian movement, or either they joined the Gandhi, or they joined the leftist what is Kirti Kisan Sabhas, okay, Kirti Kisan, those communist movements, and this trend remains popular in Punjab for a very long time, right? In fact, if you see, the major trend of capitalism in Punjab started only after the Green Revolution, right? Anyway, there was, now this is like one part moderate, number two were nationalist, and third were the communalist. So some people from the Akali party, they got communal, right? They were absorbed into the Sikh communalism, and they started mixing religion and politics. You see, whenever there is mixing of the religion and politics, there are always problem. You mixed Hinduism with religion, so politics. You mix Sikhism or Islam. What is Islamic State? You are mixing politics and religion. So that is why it is always bad, and that you should not mix religion and politics. And thus there was, in fact, these communalists, they inculcated the ideology that Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims are different. So that is a communal idea. I have already explained you meaning of communalism. This is the primary stage of communalism, where people feel that they are different because they are Sikhs, or people feel they are different because they are Hindus. You see, essentially we are different. Religion is the creation of man. How do we differentiate, right? That is how it goes. Now that was about the Akali movement. Now after this I will talk to you about the temple entry movement. See, you know, this there were many problems going on Hinduism. For example, there were lots of casteist trends. People of lower caste were not allowed to enter temples and all that story. So what had really happened till 1917, Congress had not taken up the social issues, but Gandhi came. Gandhi realized that social issues had to be taken up if you want the movement to be mass based. So social issues taken up to make movement mass based. Okay, mass based, right? That is how it went. So in 1917 session, Congress passes a resolution under which they started talking about the mass based movements. Okay, please understand, see, whenever the movement is going, national struggle is going on, that is fine, everyone is fighting, but in the lull period, what do you do? For example, in after the Khilafat and NCM, there was a lull period. What do you do in that? At that time, always social movement were run. That was the idea. Why social movement? As I told you, that led to building of the mass movement. Okay, in fact, Tilak also denounced untouchability. Tilak was against it. Gandhi openly declared for removing untouchability. Okay, Gandhi was totally against it. You please lot of people say that Gandhi supported Varn system. Yes, he said that, but he said that Varn system has its own advantages and disadvantages. Please understand that one system which divides the society into 4 sections, at that time it was migration. Okay, if somebody is, let's say, if somebody is a carpenter, he could become a teacher also. So it was, migration was allowed. The purpose of the one system, so that there was identification of the society. Slowly what happened, which was not part of the original Hinduism, that this one system got firm, it got stronger. Okay, now the people, rather than migration was stopped. People who were carpenter, they could carpenters only, and people who could not be carpenter, they were only the or the priest or whatever. The job was fixed. That is bad in itself. And what Mahatma Gandhi's version of one system was the earlier version. He said because it makes it easy for the society to move on. But a lot of people criticize Gandhi for this without properly understanding that one system initially was migratable, and it's not the division of the people, it is a division of the society, so that there is better society, so that they are easy to do the work. Recognize, even today, don't we say that we have a groups these days, right? We have groups these days of lawyers, doctors, carpenters, hotel owners, or whatever. There are various associations, right? Bar Council of India, Medical Council of India, aren't they there? So that's just a division of labor actually, which is migratable. A doctor can become a lawyer can become a doctor. Anything can happen anyway. So that is what his idea was anyway. So but he was against this this system where society was divided on the basis that you cannot migrate, and he was against any kind of untouchability or any kind of, you see, he had a lot of respect for the backward classes. Gandhi died fighting for the backward classes. He never supported. I don't know why is these wrong rumors spread in the society, even by a few of the people who are learned, especially on this Facebook and social media. Anyway, then that really annoys me, because that ignorance of history is really bad for society. Anyway, then Congress, Congress also, he wanted to educate and mobilize opinion among caste Hindus. You see, they wanted to make people aware. Their teaching campaign and protest campaign was done by them. And 2 important struggle out of these are the Vaikom Satyagraha, where Congress really worked, and the other is the Guruvayur temple entry, right? Now we will talk about these 2 and temple entry movements, and after that we will be done with the temple entry movement. So now first we'll do the Vaikom temple entry movement. Okay, so this was in Kerala. This movement was going on. There were depressed classes called as Avarnas. You see, they were later known as Harijans. Gandhi gave them the name Harijans. They are the God's people. They were really suffered, right? They were subject to degradation and dehumanizing social abilities. They suffered from untouchability, right? People were there, and they suffer from what is called as Thindal, right? And what was Thindal? Thindal was that it is known as distance pollution, that as what they considered as pollution, but was not really a pollution. It still exists in few states, right? There were Ezavas, and there were Pulayas. Okay. So all these they couldn't approach the higher classes. Ezavas had to stand away 16 feet from the higher classes. Pulayas had to stand 72 feet. These are arbitrary nonsense numbers. I really oppose them. These are derogatory to humanity. Okay, but now how they are opposed? There was a Kakinada session by the government. Okay, Kakinada session, and this was in 1923. So there was Kerala Provincial Congress Committee which took untouchability as an issue. See what is happening, that the NCA movement has died, so government Congress has to work on something, and they focus on Gandhian method constructive works, right? And one side here it is happening in 1923, other side suffragist issue is going on, right? We will talk about the suffragist issue after this lecture. In the next lecture. Okay, now what happens that it started at a Vaikom in Travancore. In Travancore there is a place Vaikom, okay, and there Vaikom, and there it started. Okay, and what happened, a temple was there, right? And temple was surrounded. Vaikom is the village. Okay, a temple was surrounded from all sides by Avarnas, okay, like Ezavas and Pulayas that I just talked to you. They were not allowed to be on those roads. Okay, and defiance was made in March 1924. Okay, and then the news spread, and then conscience of many Subarna was aroused. And for example, Nair Service Society, which is higher class, Nair Service Society, they also agreed to the welcome of the lower caste. because their conscience has been raised. See, this is what non-violence does. Without being violent, you are just breaking law over there, and you are raising the conscience of the people. And this is what Nyaya Service Society did. And then there was also something called Yog Kshama Sabha. Yog Kshama Sabha. Okay. KSHEMA, right? It's Yog Kshama. Now, in this Yog Kshama Sabha, it was the leading organization of Nambudris. Nambudris. Now, Nambudris are the highest Brahmins by caste over there. Now, they opened the door of the temple to the Avarnas, right? Government put up barricades, and Satyagrahis at this time were led by a person whose name was Keshav Menon. And they were moving toward the temple, so people are going to the temple, chale gaye. And Akali Jathas also arrived. You see, the Akali Jathas also arrived from Punjab to Kerala to help people. Okay, and E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar also led the people. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, he also led the people. He is also known as Periyar later on. Periyar. Okay, so that is how I also led people, and all of them were arrested. Now, after the death of the Maharaja of Travancore, Maharani, see, a lot of people were arrested. Now, after Maharaja of Travancore dies, the Maharani says, okay, release all the prisoners. And now, Gandhi comes to Kerala. When he comes, roads are open around the temple, and compromise is there between Rani and Gandhi. And, they enter that. But when Gandhi enters the temple, he sees that all toward the entry in the temple is allowed. But in Sanketan is the main corridor. Here the entry was not allowed in temple. So Gandhiji did not go to single temple. He kept out as Avarnas were kept out. So this way, this was the impact of the Vaikom temple satyagrah, and ultimately, control did come to Indians much later, right? And second is the Guruvayur temple entry. Guruvayur temple entry movement. In this again the same issue, the temple, people are not allowed to enter the temple. And actually the leader of the Vaikom temple satyagrah, as I told you, it was Naikar. Okay? But here the leader is K. Kalappan. That is one major difference, K. Kalappan. And this was movement in 1931, quite late, right? And here again the Kerala Provincial Congress Committee played a great role. Now this movement actually came into prominence after 1931, after the CDM was halted. Okay, you see what is happening. NCM is halted, then we have Guruvayur, Vaikom. When CDM is halted in 1931, CDM ko roka gaya, then came Guruvayur. So there was a poet, okay, poet whose name is Subramaniam Tirumambu. Okay, forgive me for the pronunciation and the spelling error that just might occur out of inadvertence, right? I try my best, right? But even then, just something might happen because names are like little confusing, little of different language for me, right? So Subramaniam Tirumambu was there, and he was known as the singing sword of Kerala. And this man, he was one of the main people who was leading the movement here. And volunteers, obviously, Nambudris again were very active. So Nambudris actually played a great role, right? Whether it was Vaikom or it was Guruvayur. And this slowly, you won't believe this, right? Guruvayur temple, which was just like one temple, but this movement spread to Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and even Colombo in Sri Lanka. So Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Colombo, right, Madras, everywhere this movement is spreading, right? And now, finally, and this satyagrah continued even after the CDM was halted, okay, and it continues. And when CDM was resumed, even then this movement continued. So this movement continued, and then Kalappan, K. Kalappan, this man, he went on fast unto death, okay. Fast unto death, and then finally on Gandhiji's birthday on 2nd October 1932, this person, he broke his fast on Gandhiji's persuasion, and A.K. Gopalan was also one of the main leaders over here, right? A.K. Gopalan. And finally it was in the 1936 that the Maharaja of Travancore proclamation that all the temples, open all government controlled temples to all the Hindus, and right, 1936 that happens, that all temples are open, all government controlled temples, Okay, and then after this in 1938, same thing happens in Madras under when there is government of C. Raja Gopalachari. So same thing happened in Madras also. The conclusion is that, you know, of the whole of the temple entry movement and the Gurudwara reform movement, you see, we first of all, technique of the non-violent struggle were learned by the people and applied by the people. It's a proof that the non-violent struggle can be successful. It's a proof of it, right? Many people say that independence don't direct proof of of a non-violent movement. Here is the proof of it, right? And there was maximum unity on in the people. People were getting educated, conscious, aware, right? The sympathetic, and there was mobilization of the people on the very wide scale on the issue of untouchability. But there were few weaknesses of the movement of this also. For example, they aroused the people against untouchability. Okay, for example, Gandhi did arouse the people against untouchability, but they could not arouse the people against caste system. Okay, because Gandhi had his own idea of caste system. He wanted that to be implemented. Earlier caste system where it wasn't a concept of lower caste, upper caste, where the concept was related to profession only. Okay, he had his own system of that, right? That is why. But for the common people, there was a caste system in the stronger sense where the caste was non-migratory, and thus there was a problem. And that is number one, right? Number one weakness of it. And number two is that this was solved, but you know, obviously this movement was solved after the constitution came into being. And number two is that people were united over here through various things. For example, you know, there was a Hindu Muslim Sikh unity. Sikh unity was at its peak at this time with Hindus and Muslims, right? But at the same time, what really happened that that's not a weakness actually, right? This should not be weakness. This is number three, strength. Okay, let's put it in strength. And finally, you know, nationalist movement got impetus. Nationalist movement got strong because of all the involvement of all these people, right? And that is all about this lecture. In the next lecture, we will be talking about the Swarajist and no changers and Gandhiji, and then we will talk about the leftist trends. We'll cover with those, and finally moving to the revolutionary terrorists of this era, right? Fine, right? And before I end the lecture, I just have one request to you. Please share this lecture, right? Thank you, because sharing is improving, right? I'm already having so many shares, right? Few hundred shares I've already done with it. That really supports me. And second is you can click on the like button, and when you do that, I get to know that you are liking this video, and others also get to know the same. And if you want this video and all the future videos to come into your email box, then you will need to click on the subscribe button right over here, right? Thank you so much for watching this video.